Hey guys, Joe here with Reasonable Media, and today we're talking the arrest of Cesar Sayoc, who is reportedly responsible for all of the bombs that have been mailed over the past few days to various political figures and media organizations. It's been reported that he was arrested today in Florida. The news reports that he is a registered Republican. And there's a plethora of shots of his van that he was apparently living in, with lots of pro-Trump, but not just pro-Trump, but anti-leftist, I guess you would call it, bumper stickers, including Hillary Clinton with a bullseye on her and CNN sucks and things of that nature. In the wake of this, in fact, even before this arrest, I've seen online countless threads and now videos where people were initially making the claim that this was a false flag performed by George Soros, was the first claim I seen. And then when it started getting to more people, the argument became, oh, well, it's the Democrats, false flag for deflecting, I guess, from the migrant caravan. People were saying it was a political strategy. And so the point of this video is more or less to just kind of caution anyone who happens to watch this. When you see the talking heads on TV, when you see the YouTube channels like this one where people talk politics, when you see the Facebook comments, just try and remember 99% of the time, nobody has any goddamn idea. Is it likely that it's a false flag? No, that would be very, very unlikely. Is it possible? Sure. What isn't? But not terribly likely. And the other side of that, too, is, we've got kind of a debate going on between, I guess you would say, Trump and the right wing and, CNN and everyone on the left wing over who's to blame for this guy sending out bombs. CNN, MSNBC, they'd all have you believe that this rests squarely on the shoulders of President Trump. President Trump, on the other hand, would have you believe that it rests squarely on the shoulders of CNN and MSNBC and politicians on the left. And so what we want to get at is, well, what's the truth? Who's telling the truth? And the reality is nobody is telling the truth on this. Nobody is taking responsibility for this. And the reality is that it is equally Donald Trump and the right and everyone on the left who's responsible for this. And at least to a degree, who's responsible, quite simply, is the guy who mailed the bombs. The real question that people are debating, though, is who planted that seed, who had the effect on him that motivated him to action. And so Democrats look at Trump and the things he says, and remember, I'm no Donald Trump fan, but at the same time, I'm also not just blindly anti-Trump. I have a low opinion of Donald Trump, but at the same time, I can recognize his accomplishments while he's been in office. If you look at previous videos, when he does something good and right, I say it. So in this case, though, Donald Trump and the position he's taken, it's really, he's really dialed up the rhetoric, calling the press the enemy of the people. That's a really bold statement to come from the president. Now, I don't necessarily disagree with him. I think the press has their own agenda independent of the American people. I might even go as far one day as saying, the press is the enemy of the American people. But the impact that has with me, just some random guy, saying that, first the President of the United States, I think there's a significant difference, and one that Donald Trump fails to understand. Same with the pundits and talking heads on Fox News. They also, since the 2016 election, or in fact leading up to, they've taken kind of a excusatory stance with Donald Trump, where they feel it's their role to excuse and try to rationalize and add a little more to his thought process than probably is really there with a lot of things when it comes to Donald Trump. The other side of that is CNN, MSNBC, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, all of these prominent people on the left who, after the 2016 election, have kind of taken the opposite stance, and they feel it's their job to vilify Donald Trump any chance they get. I've said it before, one of the reasons when Donald Trump preaches fake news that it resonates through his base is because it's at least in part somewhat accurate. Anytime the news media on the left can take something that Donald Trump said and take it to the farthest, most extreme interpretation, as opposed to, the nuance, looking at the actual nuance of what he's saying, that's fake news. And so I agree with Donald Trump on that. There is a lot of fake news. I wish Donald Trump would do as good a job calling out Fox News and other prominent figures on the right as he does with the left. But I think absolutely the left overreacts to most things Donald Trump says and does, and as a result, the claim for fake news holds weight. But again, at the same time, I feel like Donald Trump doesn't quite understand the weight of his words now as President of the United States. And I think the media and Donald Trump are kind of, because of that, they're kind of both going back and forth, and neither one of them can find common ground because of that one single issue where he doesn't understand the weight of his words, and they are just chomping at the bit to take his words to the extreme. So, who's responsible for the bombs that were sent? Well, it was apparently, reportedly, Cesar Sayoc. Granted, innocent until proven guilty, so that's yet to be proven by any means, but he's the one who's being charged with it. The videos I've seen today, the comments I've seen today, it's still more of that false flag mentality, and, there's more behind the story than we're being told. It's a conspiracy, but we don't really have anything to point to as far as conspiracy, which to me sounds more just like, we don't like the fact that this guy was Republican because it makes us look bad, and so we're going to say it's a conspiracy. And I think that's a flawed point of view. I think the reality is that this guy is probably, simply put, he's a nut job, right? He's no different than the guy that walks into a school with a rifle, or any of the other tragedies that have taken place in the past few years. He's the same. He's a guy who is clearly unstable, who happens to be aligned with the Republican Party, who probably hears the things Fox News says, Donald Trump says, whoever, and isn't able to differentiate that, this is politics, and so takes it to an extreme. He's somebody who, my guess is that he's probably, mentally ill, or just irrationally violent, and that doesn't, in my opinion, reflect on the Republican Party. It doesn't reflect on Donald Trump. I think you could have the same outcome with, if it were Mike Pence in office. So this whole false flag or conspiracy, I don't put a whole lot of weight into it. Maybe as time goes on, people can, point to some sort of detail or fact or evidence to support the claim instead of just blindly beating that drum. But in these situations, your default cannot be what's the extreme. Your default cannot be, oh, someone sent a Bob to George Soros, that must be a false flag. That's not the default. Because it's far more likely there's somebody who's little off upstairs than there's a vast conspiracy. So the idea that this is, this is a conspiracy that the left orchestrated to pull the wool over your eyes or distract from, other issues. Honest to God, unless there's some clean-cut evidence that surfaces, it's just BS. Anyone saying otherwise probably just wants you to click on their video. So, in my opinion, who's to blame? The guy that sent the bomb. And if we're gonna deviate from that and cast blame further than him, then both Donald Trump and the news media share an equal amount of blame because they're both, the right and the left politicians and media organizations are doing everything they can to divide us as a people because it's lucrative for them. They get more clicks. If we're pissed off and, on our 75th comment on their video, that gives their video better visibility. They're going to make more money off of us that way. So it's financially beneficial for them to have us all whipped up into a froth and at each other's throats. And I think that's the kind of thing that leads to scenarios like this. If you, what do I say? The weakest link breaks the chain, right? Well, if your business plan relies on you whipping the public into a frenzy, eventually those weakest links are going to break. And I think that's what we saw today. So that's my opinion. That's my take on it. If you like this video, leave me a like. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe, hit the notification button. If you disagree with me, feel free to leave me a comment in the comment section. I genuinely enjoy talking about the issues of the day. I think it's important. I think an open dialogue is necessary. And I think more than just my point of view is critical for me. So always happy to hear comments and differing opinions. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and we will see you guys in the next video. Take care.